Hello again, everyone. Welcome into the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Just me again today. Hopefully, we'll have Logan back on Friday. But I got my Panthers hat on. Had a great win yesterday, so that was nice to see. Wish the Steelers could have got it done, but they could not finish out at the end. But all in all, pretty good weekend of football, and ready to discuss it with everyone. So there was two college games on Friday, but we only covered one. Western Kentucky getting the win 20-17 over UAB. I wasn't able to watch this game, but it looked like the quarterback play was pretty bad in this one. 60.9% completion for Austin Reed for the Hilltoppers, 14-23. 128 yards, 8 carries for 23 yards and 2 touchdowns. So legs of Austin Reed were pretty effective. Dylan Hopkins got injured early, only completed both of his passes for 63 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble before he went down. Then Jacob Zeno came in for the Blazers. Pretty paltry, 3 of 10, 30%, 33 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 6 carries for 14 yards. Dwayne McBride was just lights out. The running game for both teams was very good. Dwayne McBride for UAB, though, 24 carries, 197 yards, but costly 2 fumbles for him in this one, probably cost them the game. And then on the other side for the Hilltoppers, LT Sanders, 16 carries, 120 yards. Malachi Corley, Western Kentucky leading receiver in the game, 5 catches for 77 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with Western Kentucky linebacker Jaden Hunter, 6 tackles, 3 of them solos, 1 sack, and 1.5 tackles for a loss. Western Kentucky covered -1.5, under 58.5. Easy. Saturday, number 2, Ohio State crushing Iowa 54-10 in Columbus. CJ Stroud brought his Heisman campaign back, 20 of 30, 66.7%, 286 yards. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a fumble that led to a touchdown. Iowa's only touchdown of the game. Iowa, once again, just the quarterbacks are terrible. Spencer Petras, Alex Padilla both playing. Petras 6 of 14, 42.9%. 49 yards, 2 picks, and a fumble. So 3 turnovers for Petras. And then Padilla, 5 of 10, 50%, 32 yards, and 1 pick. So 4 total turnovers for the Iowa quarterbacks. Travion Henderson led the way running the ball for Ohio State, 11 carries, 38 yards, and a 4-yard reception. Receiving-wise, 100-yard receiver in the game. That was Ohio State wide receiver Julian Fleming, 2 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, a lot of pretty good performances in this one. I got to mention the guys with the 2 defensive touchdowns. Ohio State linebacker Tommy Eichenberg, 7 tackles, 5 of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, a 15-yard pick 6. And then Iowa defensive end Joe Evans, 1 tackle. It was a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and an 11-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Ohio State covered -30, over 50 by themselves. Number 3, Tennessee crushing UT Martin, 65-24, as expected. For the Skyhawks, Dresser win, 26 of 45, 57.8%, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. So pretty good performance against an FBS top 3 opponent there for win. Hendon Hooker for the Vols, 18 of 24, 75%, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 carries for 28 yards. Nice day for him. 2 other quarterbacks getting meaningful snaps in this one for Tennessee. Joe Milton, 4 of 7, 57.1%, 135 yards, a touchdown, 3 carries for 23 yards. And then Gaston Moore, 2 of 3, 66.7%, 9 yards, and a pick. Leading ball carrier in the game, Tennessee running back Dylan Sampson, 13 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. 300-yard receivers in the game here. Tennessee's wide receiver Jalen Hyatt, 7 receptions, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tennessee wide receiver Squirrel White, 5 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And then UT Martin, wide receiver Colton Dowell, 7 receptions, 112 yards. Bunch of guys scored 2 touchdowns. Tennessee wide receiver Ramel Keaton, 5 catches, 77 yards, 2 scores. And UT Martin wide receiver George Qualls Jr., 5 catches, 66 yards, and 2 scores. Tight end Princeton Fant for Tennessee had an eventful day. 1 catch for 17 yards on offense, or receiving the ball. And then he had 2 carries for 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he also threw a 66-yard touchdown pass as well. So crazy all around, all-purpose day for Princeton Fant there in the Vols. And defensively, I am going to go with a UT Martin linebacker, J.H. Ford II. What a name. 10 tackles, 6 of them solos, a half a sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. Tennessee covered -39, over 71.5 hits. Crazy. Number 5, Clemson. What a matchup here. 27-21 over number 14, Syracuse. This one was in Death Valley, and it was a great game. Clemson coming back after looking terrible in the first half plus. But Garrett Strader for the Orange, 18-26, 69.2%, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 21 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown. For Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei got pulled, 13-21, 61.9%, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 8 carries, 13 yards, and a fumble. 3 turnovers led to DJ's benching. Dabo Swinney mentioning after the game that DJ is their guy and he will be the starter, continue to be the starter going forward. So interesting notes that Dabo said that right away. But Cade Klubnik came in, won the game for him. Only threw 4 times, completed 2 of those for 50% completion. 19 yards, 6 carries, 15 yards. But they really got the running game going once Klubnik came out. Will Shipley had a great game. 27 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble. And then he also had 3 catches for 17 yards on the day. His backup, Phil Maffa, it's supposed to be Maffa, not MAGA. Maffa had a great day as well. 18 carries, 94 yards, a touchdown, and a 1 10-yard reception. Sean Tucker did not do much. Syracuse went away from him early in the second quarter for some reason that the announcers said they couldn't even understand why they went away from Tucker, because he was effective. 5 carries, 54 yards, also 5 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown. Leading receiver in the ball game, Syracuse wide receiver Oronde Gadsden II, 6 catches, 86 yards. And defensively, I have to go with Syracuse defensive back Jihad Carter, 9 tackles, 6 solos, a pick, and a 90-yard fumble return for a touchdown off of DJ. Syracuse covered +14, easily under 50.5 by 2. Number 21, Cincinnati, 29-27 over SMU. Ben Bryant, pretty good, 18-35, 51.4%, 200 yards. Tanner Mordecai got banged up in this game, so Preston Stone came in. Mordecai, though, 15-25, 60%, 105 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Preston Stone, 6-15, 40%, 74 yards, a touchdown, 4 carries for 22 yards. Charles McClelland for the Bearcats had a nice day, 16 carries, 129 yards, and 1 touchdown. Leading receiver in the game here, Cincinnati wide receiver Jaden Thompson, 4 catches for 69 yards. And defensively, got to go with Cincinnati linebacker Ivan Pace Jr., 9 tackles, 2 of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hurry. SMU cover +3.5, under 59.5. Baylor getting it done, 35-23 over Kansas. Jason Bean, 16-27, 59.3% completion, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 25 yards, and another score on the ground. Blake Shapen for the Bears, 17 of 26, 65.4%, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and a fumble. So tough day for Blake Shapen, 3 turnovers. But the Baylor ground game helped him out, got it done, and got the win for the Bears. Richard Reese, the key to that ground game for Baylor, 31 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 26 yards. Leading receiver in the game, Kansas wide receiver Quentin Skinner, 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown, but a detrimental 2 fumbles that kind of even out to the 3 turnovers that Shapen had for the Bears offense. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Baylor safety Al Walcott, 4 tackles, 2 of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. Baylor covered minus 10.5, over 56.5. Buffalo upsetting Toledo 34-27. Cole Snyder for the Bulls, 22 of 39, 56.4%, 245 yards, 1 touchdown. Also put in a rushing touchdown and fumbled it once as well. For Toledo, Daquan Finn, 25 of 47, 53.2%, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, but a killer 4 interceptions. Just cannot do that and expect to win the game. So that was probably the biggest thing, was turnovers for the Rockets offensively. 14 carries, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just was not enough to overcome the turnovers for Toledo. Ron Cook Jr. led the game in rushing, but the Buffalo running back had 18 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 catches for 40 yards. Toledo also had their own 100-yard rusher, Jaquez Stewart, 14 carries, 107 yards, and a fumble. Also had 1 8-yard reception. Leading the way receiving-wise was Buffalo wide receiver Jamari Gassett. 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, whole host of guys on here. I have to go. There's 2 guys that I'm going to go with, though. Buffalo safety Jameen Muse, 9 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss, and a 72-yard fumble return for a touchdown. And then also have to mention Buffalo's other safety, Marcus Fuqua, 4 tackles, 3 of them solos, and 3 interception, a hat trick for Fuqua in this game. Buffalo plus 7.5, over 56. LSU, a massive upset and a massive win for Brian Kelly in his first season in Baton Rouge, 45-20 over number 7 Ole Miss. This was the smackdown I've been waiting for Ole Miss to get. Didn't think it was going to come from LSU. Thought it was going to have to wait till Alabama or Mississippi State. But LSU got it done, and I'm happy that Ole Miss has a loss finally. Jackson Dart for the Rebels, 19-34, 55.9%, 283 yards and a pick. Jaden Daniels was electric, 21-28, 75% completion, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 carries, 121 yards, and 3 more touchdowns on the ground. 5 total scores for Daniels on the day. No turnovers. That is how you win a ball game against a top 10 team. 100-yard rusher in this game, Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins, 25 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 13 yards. And then 100-yard receiver in this game, Ole Miss wide receiver Malik Heath caught most of Dart's yards, 8 receptions, 145 yards. Defensively, a lot of great performances. I'm going to go with LSU linebacker defensive lineman Mekhi Wingo, though. 7 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hurry. LSU cover, they were a pick'em and over 64 by 1. Number 10, Oregon, smashing number 9, UCLA in Eugene, 45-30. Bo Nix, this was probably the best game of his career. 22-28, 78.6%, 283 yards, 5 touchdown passes, 8 carries for 51 yards as well. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR for UCLA, 27 of 39, 69.2%, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries for 38 yards. Zach Charbonnet had one of the 2 100-yard games on the ground in this one. The UCLA running back, 20 carries, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches for 28 yards. And then Oregon running back Bucky Irving, 19 carries, 107 yards, 3 catches for 57 yards, and a score. 200-yard receivers in this game. Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin was a beast, uncoverable all day, 8 receptions, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And UCLA's wide receiver Jake Bobo, 8 receptions, 101 yards, and a score. Defensively, I have to go with UCLA defensive back Mo Osling III, 17 tackles for the DB. That's a lot, and 7 of those were solos. Oregon cover -7 over 71. We had a couple 70-plus totals hit over this weekend. Just a lot of points from the past weekend. Number 11, Oklahoma State, back on track, beating number 20, Texas, 41-34 in a comeback effort. Spencer Sanders, 34 of 57, 59.6%, 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. 11 carries for 43 yards. Quinn Ewers for Texas was terrible completion-wise. 19 of 49. That's only 38.8%, but 19 completions. He got 319 yards out of that, so pretty decent there. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, though, were a killer on the day. Bijan Robinson, great performance for him. The Longhorn running back, 24 carries, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, also caught a 41-yard touchdown. Receiving wise, Oklahoma State wide receiver Bryson Green led the way, 5 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshone. 8 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hurry. Oklahoma State +6.5. I don't know what that line was there for. I don't know. They were at home. Over 58.5. Easily. Number 13, Wake Forest, crushing Boston College, 43-15. Sam Hartman, great day, 25 of 40, 62.5%, 313 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. Also put in a rushing score on the day as well. BC played 2 quarterbacks. I think Phil Jurkovec just got pulled after they were already down a lot. But Jurkovec, 20 of 38, 52.6%, 221 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 carries for 21 yards, and another score. Also had a fumble. The other quarterback came in for Jurkovec was Emmett Moorhead, 4 of 7, 57.1%, and 38 yards. Leading ball carrier on the day, Wake Forest running back Justice Ellison, 9 carries for 36 yards. Yeah, it was not a great ground day for either team. And crazy enough, Boston College's leading rusher on the day was on a fake punt or field goal or something. I don't know what happened. But Danny Longman, the kicker, 1 carry for 24 yards, leading rusher for the Eagles. 100-yard performance here. BC wide receiver Zay Flowers, great receiver for them. 10 catches, 135 yards, and a touchdown. And then 2 guys for Wake had multiple touchdowns. Wide receiver Jamal Banks, 7 catches, 79 yards, and 2 scores. Wide receiver Taylor Morin, 4 catches, 48 yards, and 2 scores. Defensively, I got to go with Wake Forest defensive lineman Rondell Bothroyd, 4 tackles, 2 of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. Wake Forest cover -20, under 60 by 2. Number 25, Tulane keeps on rolling, 7-1 Green Wave, 38-28 over Memphis. They had a big first half, 35-0. And then Memphis outscored them 28-3 in the second. But Seth Hennigan for the Tigers, 26 of 41, 63.4%, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 13 carries for 42 yards. Michael Pratt for Tulane, 20 of 29, 69% completion, 158 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 carries, 19 yards, and another touchdown on the ground. Tajay Spears, great performance by him. The Tulane running back, 24 carries, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 1 8-yard reception as well. Leading receiver in the ball game, Memphis wide receiver Eddie Lewis, 3 receptions, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. And then we also had Tulane wide receiver Jaquan Jackson, 2 catches for 22 yards, and he also added on a 90-yard punt return touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams, 12 tackles, 8 of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 2 QB hurries. Tulane cover -7 over 55.5. Liberty is 7-1, and they absolutely demolished BYU 41-14. Yeah, this is one we didn't see coming, and we all picked BYU. So good job by Hugh Freeze and co. Jonathan Bennett was great. Almost, very close to 90%. 24-29, 82.8%. 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries for 46 yards. For BYU, Jaron Hall, 16 of 34, 47.1%, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 24 yards. But the story of the game was Liberty running back Day Hunter and Shedro Lewis there. Day Hunter, 23 carries, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches for 31 yards. Just a phenomenal day. 244 total yards on 27 touches, added on a touchdown as well. Day Hunter, just crazy day. And then Shedro Lewis, his running mate in the backfield for the Flames, 10 carries, 35 yards. He put in 2 touchdowns, also had a fumble and a 3-yard reception. A 100-yard receiver in this game, BYU wide receiver Puka Nacua, 7 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown. Great to see Puka back to full health after he was struggling with that early in the year. Defensively, there wasn't much, so I'm going to go with BYU defensive lineman Tyler Beatty, 7 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 QB hurry. Liberty +7 under 58. Wisconsin, the Badgers getting to 500, beating Purdue 35-24. Aiden O'Connell, 31 of 46, 67.4%, 320 yards, 1 touchdown, but 3 picks. You're not going to win with that formula, Aiden. Also had a rushing touchdown, did O'Connell. Graham Mertz for Wisconsin, 13 of 21, 61.9%, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. Maybe Mertz's best performance in quite a while for Wisconsin. 200-yard rushers in this game. Wisconsin running back Braylon Allen, 16 carries, 113 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 39-yard reception. And then Purdue running back Devin Mockabee, 23 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown. 100-yard receiver in the game, Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones, 10 receptions, 105 yards. Defensively, got to go with Wisconsin safety John Torchio, 10 tackles, 3 of them solos, 1 pass deflection, 2 picks. One of them was a 31-yard pick 6. Wisconsin cover -1.5 over 51.5. Big Ten battle, Maryland eking it out 31-24 over Northwestern. I guess both quarterbacks were injured in this game. Talia Tagovailoa nor Ryan Helinski played in this game. So I don't know what was going on with the quarterback situation in this one. I wasn't able to watch this with other games going on, but Maryland did get the win. Go Terps, go fighting Dave Mewise. Maryland quarterback Billy Edwards Jr., though, 18 of 28, 64.3%, 166 yards, a touchdown, 16 carries for 66 yards. Brennan Sullivan for the Wildcats, 18 of 24, 75%, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 13 carries for 53 yards, and a touchdown. 200-yard rushers in this game. One was more effective than the other, though. The pretty much the guy that made Maryland win this game, running back Roman Hemby, 24 carries, 179 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, also chipped on 2 catches for 14 yards. Evan Hall was his normal self for Northwestern, 20 carries, 119 yards, 4 catches for 31 yards, and a score. Leading receiver in the game, Maryland wide receiver Rakeem Jarrett, 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with the top guy, Northwestern linebacker Bryce Gallagher. Great day for him. 16 tackles, 7 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. I know Logan would want me to pronounce Adetomiwa Adebawore name, the Northwestern defensive lineman's day. 3 tackles, 3 of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Northwestern covered easily, plus 14.5, over 51.5. Marshall beating JMU 26-12. Again, I don't know what happened with Todd Centeio. He's injured because Billy Atkins played the entire game for the Dukes. 13-35, 37.1%, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and a fumble. Just terrible day for Atkins with 5 turnovers there. Marshall quarterback Cam Fancher, 15-31, 48.4%, 159 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 9 carries for 22 yards. He got a lot of help though from Kalen LeBourne, 30 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, also 1 catch for -2 yards. 100-yard receiver in this game, Marshall wide receiver Corey Gamage, 5 catches, 107 yards. 1 touchdown and a fumble. Crazy that he caught 107 of the 159 yards from Fancher. Defensively, a lot of crazy good performances, but Marshall defensive lineman Owen Porter, holy hell, man, 9 tackles, 5 solos, 3.5 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and he had 4 QB hurries. That is just a monstrous performance. That's National Player of the Week type performance right there, Mr. Porter. So we'll have to look for that. Also worth noting, JMU defensive lineman Isaac Ukwu, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hurries. And then I want to point out also Marshall safety EJ Jackson scored Marshall's first 2 points of the game, 2 tackles, 1 solo on defense, but he also scored a defensive 2-point conversion, blocked kick on the extra point, I guess, and returned it for a defensive 2. Marshall plus 12.5, under 50.5, easily. UTSA 31-27 over North Texas. Austin Allen 15-31, 48.4%, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. UTSA quarterback Frank Harris, 27-39, 69.2%, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 16 carries, 75 yards. 100-yard rusher in the game, running back Brennan Brady for the Roadrunners, 19 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns there. UNT was not able to run it really at all, but 100-yard receiver in the game, North Texas wide receiver Roderick Burns, 6 catches, 139 yards. And defensively, I think I got to go with UTSA corner Corey Mayfield Jr., 4 tackles, 3 solos, 3 pass deflections, and a pick. North Texas cover plus 10 and under 73 hit. One of the 70 plus unders. That was the highest of the weekend, 73. That's a crazy number. Number 6, Alabama beating up on number 24, Mississippi State, 30-6. Bryce Young back to his normal self, 21-35, 60%, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. Will Rogers struggled, 30 of 60, 50% completion, 231 yards. Not much on the ground in the game for either team. Mississippi State running back Jaquavius Marks led the way, 13 carries, 53 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions for 0 yards. Leading receiver in the game, Alabama wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks, 3 catches for 74 yards. Defensively, I'm going to go with Alabama defensive back Brian Branch, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hurry. Also have to mention the Alabama corners, Kool-Aid McKinstry and Eli Ricks. McKinstry, 4 tackles, 3 solos, and Eli Ricks, 2 tackles, 1 solo, both having 4 pass deflections apiece in that game. Alabama cover -21, under 61. Mountain West matchup, Boise State upsetting Air Force 19-14. Talon Green, pretty nice day. 16 of 24, 66.7%, 207 yards, 1 pick, 5 carries for 16 yards there. Air Force quarterback Hazik Daniels, 4 of 8, 50%, 96 yards, 14 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Leading rusher in the game, Air Force running back Brad Roberts, 25 carries, 90 yards, and a score. Leading receiver in the game, Boise State wide receiver Eric McAllister, 1 catch for 44 yards. And then defensively, there wasn't much, but Boise State linebacker Dimitri Washington had a nice day. 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Boise State cover +2. And the under 46.5 hit easily. Number 16, Penn State rolling over Minnesota, 45-17 in the whiteout. Sean Clifford had a nice night, 23 of 31, 74.2%, 294 yards, 295 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and a pick. Minnesota did not have Tanner Morgan. He was out with injury. So backup quarterback Ethan Kaliak-Manis played the game. 9 of 22, 40.9%, 175 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick, 7 carries for 45 yards. Mohamed Ibrahim, the 100-yard rusher in the game, Minnesota running back, 30 carries, 102 yards, and a score. Penn State freshman running back Nicholas Singleton finally got back to a great game, 13 carries, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 28 yards. Penn State was using their tight ends a lot in this game. Theo Johnson led the way, receiving 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with Penn State linebacker Curtis Jacobs, 14 tackles, 7 solos, and 2 tackles for loss. Penn State covered -5 easily, over 43 by themselves. South Carolina 30-24 win over Texas A&M, the upset. Haynes King got it done, 17 of 32, 53.1%, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 3 carries for 19 yards. I believe he got injured or pulled, I'm not sure. Spencer Rattler for South Carolina, 12 of 25, 48%, 168 yards, and a fumble. And then A&M also brought in Connor Wegman, 8 of 15, 53.3% for 91 yards. Leading rusher in the game, A&M running back Devin Achane, 20 carries, 99 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 catches for 57 yards. South Carolina running back Marshawn Lloyd, also a great night, 18 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 24 yards. Leading receiver in the ball game, A&M wide receiver Evan Stewart, 6 catches for 87 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with South Carolina defensive lineman Zach Pickens. Great name to keep in mind when the draft comes around. 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 pass deflection, and 3 QB hurries. And finally, had to mention South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Leggett had a 100-yard kick return touchdown. South Carolina +3 over 45. AAC matchup here. ECU getting it done, just pretty handily beating UCF 34-13. Holton Ahlers was efficient, 30 of 36, 83.3%, 311 yards, 1 touchdown, and also had a rushing touchdown. John Rice Plumlee, 25 of 37 for UCF, 67.6%, 296 yards, but he threw 3 picks. Again, you're not going to win throwing a lot of interceptions or turning the ball over big, because he also fumbled it on his 14 carries for 38 yards. 100-yard rusher in the game, ECU running back Keaton Mitchell, 16 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 9 yards. 100-yard receiver in the game, ECU wide receiver CJ Johnson, 11 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with ECU defensive lineman Rick Diabro. Diabreu. There you go. 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 QB hurry. ECU +5, under 63. Big 12 matchup. Number 8 TCU getting it done, 38-28 over number 17 Kansas in a comeback effort for the second straight week. Max Duggan for the Horned Frogs, 17 of 26, 65.4%, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, 15 carries for 13 yards. Adrian Martinez got injured in this game, only threw 2 passes, completed 1 for 7 yards, and had a 19-yard carry. Will Howard, though, 13 of 20, 65%, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 9 carries for 31 yards, and a touchdown. KSU also put in Jake Rubley for 1 pass. He threw an interception on that 1 throw. TCU running back Kendre Miller, great night for him. 29 carries, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 18-yard reception. And then leading receiver in the game, TCU tight end Jared Wiley, 5 catches for 74 yards, 1 touchdown. TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnson tied him in receiving yards, 4 catches for 74 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with TCU corner Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, and a pick. TCU cover -3.5 over 54.5. Oregon State just obliterating Colorado, 42-9. JT Shrout, the Tennessee transfer, 13 of 29, 44.8%, 206 yards, but he threw 2 picks. Oregon State quarterback Ben Gulbranson, 14 of 22, 63.6%, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Oregon State running back Damian Martinez had an amazing night, 22 carries, 178 yards, and 3 scores. Also had 1 10-yard reception. Leading receiver in the game, Buffalo's wide receiver Jordan Tyson, 3 catches, 92 yards. And defensively, got to go with Oregon State defensive back Alex Austin, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 pass deflection, and a 42-yard pick 6. Oregon State cover easily -23 over 47.5. Louisville 24-10 over Pitt. Keaton Slovis for the Panthers, 16 of 29, 55.2%, 158 yards, 2 picks and a fumble. So not a great night for Slovis there. Malik Cunningham for the Cardinals, 10 of 21, 47.6%, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 9 carries for 46 yards there. I'm not sure if Cunningham got hurt. I would assume so, because Louisville brought in Brock Doman. He went 2 of 5, 40%, 35 yards. Great night once again for Pitt running back Israel Bonaconda, but he can't do it all himself, unfortunately. 28 carries, 129 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions for 50 yards as well. Leading receiver in the game, Louisville wide receiver Tyler Hudson, 5 receptions, 71 yards for him. And then defensively, how can you not go with Louisville linebacker Yasir Abdullah, even in a loss? 7 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, 3 QB hurries, and a pick. That is a great defensive night for Abdullah. Louisville covered -1 easily and under 55. Also easily. Washington getting it done 28-21 over Cal. Michael Penix Jr., 36 of 51, 70.6%, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns there. Cal quarterback Jack Plummer, 21 of 34, 61.8%, 245 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So great passing nights for both quarterbacks. Washington just eking it out with the 1-score win there. Neither running game was very good. Washington running back Cameron Davis led the way, 13 carries, 46 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 18 yards. And then 100-yard receiver in the game, Cal wide receiver J. Michael Sturdivant, 8 receptions, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's an amazing name. Mr. Sturdivant, J. Michael. I like it. And defensively, I'm going to go with Washington defensive lineman Braylon Trice, 5 tackles, 3 of them solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Cal did cover by the hook, though, plus 7.5, under 54.5. FCS games of the week. Our first one here, top 5 matchup. Number 3, Montana State getting it done, 43-38 over number 5, Weber State. Bronson Barron for the Bobcats there. Wildcats, I believe they are. 14 of 30, 46.7%, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 13 carries for 40 yards, and another score. How about the day for quarterback Tommy Mellott, Montana State Bobcats? 15 of 23, 65.2%, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Passing was not very great. But, oh my good Lord. Running the ball for Mellott, 32 carries, 273 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns for the Montana State quarterback. That is just crazy. And I have never seen a quarterback rushing stat line like that, college or NFL. That was absolutely electric. Other than him, though, leading running back on the day, Weber State running back Dante McMillan, 9 carries, 76 yards, 3 catches for 13 yards. Leading receiver on the day, Weber State wide receiver Ty McPherson, 5 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Weber State corner Eddie Heckard had a pick, and 2 return touchdowns here for Weber State wide receiver Abraham Williams, 100-yard kickoff return touchdown. And then wide receiver Hudson Schenk, he fumbled the ball once, but he also had a 91-yard punt return touchdown. And the crazy thing about this game is the difference pretty much in this game ended up being 4 safeties that Montana State got 4 safeties in this game, which was ridiculous. I saw one that happened. It's because the long snapper on punts was just airmailing them all day long. And he airmailed them close enough to the Weber State. I don't know how this game is even close with those 4 safeties there, giving them 8 points right off the bat, essentially. Was a tough look for Weber State's long snapper. But, it was bad. Some of them weren't even close. They were even practicing it on the sideline, and he was still airmailing it. It was pretty horrible to watch. But Montana State +3 over 53.5. This game was great, y'all. I mentioned this. This was the nightcap. It started at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central here in Wisconsin. Number 2, Sacramento State. 7-0 for the first time in their program history. 31-24 over number 7, Montana, in overtime. Sacramento State utilized 2 quarterbacks. Montana State did out of necessity after Chris Brown got injured. But Jake Dunaway for the Hornets, 19 of 36, 52.8%, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 picks. Pretty tough look with those 3 picks, but they came back anyways. Chris Brown, before he got injured for the Grizz, 16 of 31, 51.6%, 141 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 carries for 18 yards. Lucas Johnson, the guy replacing Brown, 6 of 10, 60%, 45 yards, 3 carries for 36 yards. Asher O'Hara, the backup quarterback for Sacramento State that came in, had some plays, package of plays that they used him in. 2 of 4, 50%, 15 yards passing. But running the ball was really his skill set. 13 carries, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game-tying touchdown and the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Really nice night for O'Hara there. Leading ball carrier on the day, Sacramento State running back Cameron Scadaboo. Love the name. 13 carries, 111 yards, 3 receptions for 38 yards there. And then leading a receiver in the game, Sacramento State tight end Marshall Martin, 6 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Whole host of turnovers for Montana. They got 4 of them. Linebacker Patrick O'Connell had a fumble recovery, and then interceptions happened by safety Nash Falk. And corners Corbin Walker and Justin Ford, all for Montana Grizzlies. Sacramento State covered -5 over 53.5. NFL slate here, Panthers getting it done. Big upset, and pretty handily beating the Bucs 21-3. The lowest amount of points Tom Brady has scored in his career against Carolina. Also his first loss ever to the Panthers in a Bucs uniform. Tom Brady, though, 32 of 49, 65.3%, 290 yards. Quarterback PJ Walker for the Panthers, 16 of 22, 72.7%, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns to get interim head coach Steve Wilkes his first win for Carolina. The running game was very good for the Panthers all day, surprisingly, against the vaunted Bucs defense. But Deontay Foreman, 100-yard day for him, 15 carries, 118 yards, 2 receptions for 27 yards. The Bucs, on the other hand, couldn't really run the ball, which was a tough look for them. Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans led the game in receiving, 9 catches, 96 yards, 15 targets for him. Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore also had double-digit targets with 10, 7 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. And then Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin, double-digit targets as well, 13 of them to be exact, caught 7 for 43 yards. And I got to mention tight end Tommy Tremble, 29-yard touchdown reception on his only target on National Tight Ends Day. I'll be highlighting the tight ends that did well in every game. Defensively, I'm going to go with Panthers defensive end Brian Burns, 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Panthers plus 13. They got the win outright, under 38.5. Bengals crushing the Falcons 35-17. Joe Burrow was electric, 34 of 42, 81% completion, 481 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries for 20 yards, and another score on the ground, 4 total touchdowns for Burrow on the day. Marcus Mariota for the Falcons was not as good, 8 of 13, 61.5%, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 carries for 31 yards. Joe Mixon led the game in rushing for Cincinnati, 17 carries, 58 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions for 33 yards. And then 200-yard receivers in this one for Cincy. Wide receiver Tyler Boyd had just a out-of-the-blue crazy game. 8 receptions, 155 yards, a touchdown on 9 targets. 60 of those coming off the first touchdown of the game there. And, of course, Jamar Chase for Cincinnati, 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with Falcons defensive end Grady Jarrett, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 3 QB hits on Burrow. Bengals covered easily, -6.5, over 47.5. Cowboys handily beating the Lions in Dak's return, 24-6 in Dallas. Jared Goff for the Lions, 21-26. Great efficiency, 80.8%, 228 yards, but he had 4 turnovers, 2 picks, 2 fumbles. Did Goff on the day. Dak Prescott, his return to the starting lineup, 19 of 25, 76%, really good there. 207 yards, 1 touchdown. Tony Pollard, your leading ball carrier in the game. Cowboys running back had 12 carries, 83 yards, 2 receptions for 26 yards. And then his running mate, Ezekiel Elliott, 15 carries, 57 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. Leading receiver in the game, Lions wide receiver Khalif Raymond, 5 catches, 75 yards on 6 targets. And of course, I mentioned National Tight End Day. Cowboys tight end Peyton Hendershot, the pride of Indiana, 2 receptions, 5 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets. Defensively, got to go with Cowboys rookie defensive end Sam Williams out of Ole Miss, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. I have to mention, though, Lions corner Jeff Okudah, 15 tackles for the corner, 12 of them were solo tackles. Also, one of them was a tackle for loss there. But crazy game for Jeff Okudah outside at the corner position. Great tackling for him in that one. Cowboys covered easily, -7, under 49.5 easily. Titans taking first place in the AFC South, 19-10 over the Colts. Matt Ryan, 33 of 44. Great efficiency, 75%, but only 243 yards, 1 touchdown through 2 picks that were pretty bad. For the Titans, quarterback Ryan Tannehill, 13 of 20, 65%, 132 yards, and a fumble. Derrick Henry was himself, once again, 30 carries, 128 yards, 3 receptions for 10 yards. Paris Campbell led the way in receiving in the game, which pissed me off. I had Alec Pierce in fantasy, and he did all right, but not the 22 points that Campbell scored. 10 receptions, 70 yards, 1 touchdown on 12 targets. And then have to mention, Titans leading receiver in the game, tight end Austin Hooper on National Tight Ends Day, 3 receptions, 58 yards on 3 targets. A lot of great defensive performances in this one. Got to go, however, with Titans safety Andrew Adams, 10 tackles, 6 of them solos, 1 pass deflection, 76-yard pick, 6. Titans cover -2.5, under 43 easily. Commanders upsetting the Green Bay Packers 23-21, dropping the Packers under 500. Taylor Heineke in Carson Wentz's stead, 20 of 33, 60.6%, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 35, 65.7%, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Leading ball carrier on the day, Brian Robinson Jr. for the Commanders, 20 carries, 73 yards, 2 receptions for 13 yards. Packers really couldn't run the ball. Aaron Jones led the way there, 8 carries, 23 yards. Very poor, 2.9 yards per carry. But receiving-wise, he was a beast, 9 receptions, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 10 targets there. Terry McLaurin led the game in receiving. Commanders wide receiver, 5 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets. And defensively, I have to go with linebacker Devondre Campbell for the Packers. 12 tackles, 7 of them solos, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hit, and a 63-yard pick 6. Commanders +4 over 41.5. Giants coming back for the win, 23-17 over the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, 22 of 43, 51.2%, 310 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Daniel Jones, 19 of 30, 63.3%, 202 yards, 1 touchdown. Really great performance on the ground for him. 11 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Two other 100-yard rushers in the game. Travis Etienne for the Jags, 14 carries, 114 yards, one touchdown, and a fumble. Also had one catch for 5 yards on 5 targets in the passing game. So Etienne, his first 100-yard performance of his career, I believe. I don't think he had one before that. And his first touchdown of his career. He had not scored this season until this game. And then, of course, Giants running back Saquon Barkley, 24 carries, 110 yards, 4 catches for 25 yards. Leading receiver in the game, Jags wide receiver Christian Kirk, 7 catches, 96 yards on 10 targets. Also did not complete his one pass he threw. And then Jags wide receiver Zay Jones, 4 catches, 54 yards. He had 10 targets on the day. Defensively, I'm going to go with Jags corner Darius Williams, 8 tackles, 5 solos, 3 pass deflections. Great day for Williams. Giants +3, under 44. AFC North matchup, Ravens getting it done, 23-20 over the Browns. Jacoby Brissett, 22 of 27. Great efficiency, 81.5%, 258 yards, 3 carries for 18 yards, and a fumble. Lamar Jackson did not do much in this game. 9 of 16, 56.3%, 120 yards, 10 carries for 59 yards. Nick Chubb, your leading ball carrier on the day. The Browns running back had 16 carries for 91 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions for 16 yards. And how about Gus the Bus coming back, his first appearance of the season? The Ravens running back, 16 carries, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Bus was rolling into the end zone twice on this day. Leading receiver in the game, Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper, 3 receptions for 74 yards on 4 targets. And defensively, I'm going to go with Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen, 11 tackles, 7 of them solos, 1 sacked, 3 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. Browns did cover +6.5, under 46.5. Some controversy there at the end of the game. Did the Ravens jump off sides first on a potential 55-yard game-tying field goal attempt? Or did the Browns false start first on the left side? The video, to me, it looked like the Ravens jumped first on the right side. But the ref saw the left side, not the right side. I don't know. 55 or 60, was he going to make it either way? I don't know. Cade York's surprised a lot of people this year with how he's kicked in his rookie season. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have made it from 55. But he shanked the 60-yarder. So who knows? But the Browns covered, though, +6.5, under 46.5. Snooze fest in Denver. Jets getting it 16-9 over the Broncos. Brett Rippon in place of the injured Russell Wilson. 24 of 46. 52.2%, 225 yards, and a pick. Zach Wilson, 16 of 26, 61.5%, 121 yards, 4 carries for 24 yards. Breece Hall had a nice day, leading the game in rushing before he got injured. 4 carries, 72 yards, and a touchdown. I'll mention that injury later. The Broncos, again, couldn't run the ball. Melvin Gordon, their leading rusher, 11 carries, 33 yards, 2 catches for 17 yards. Leading receiver in the ball game, Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, to the demise of my fantasy team in my fraternity league. 7 receptions, 96 yards on 11 targets. Defensively, I think my defensive player of the game is going to be Broncos defensive end Draymond Jones. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. But have to mention the corners for the Jets, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, 10 tackles, 9 solos for Gardner, 8 tackles, 7 solos for DJ Reed, and both having 3 pass deflections each in this one. Jets cover -2, under 36.5 easily. Raiders getting it done handily over the Texans 38-20. Davis Mills 28 of 41, 68.3%, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Derek Carr was great, 21 of 27, 77.8%, 241 yards, 1 touchdown. But the story of the day was Josh Jacobs, again, to the demise of my fantasy team, just absolutely crushing 36.5 fantasy points, 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, also put on 3 receptions for 12 yards. Dameon Pierce, however, continues to have a great season, even on a 1-4-1 team. 20 carries for the rookie, 92 yards, 4 receptions for 25 yards. Devontae Adams led the game in receiving. Who else? The Raiders receiver had 8 receptions, 95 yards on 9 targets. Got to mention tight end Jordan Akins, National Tight Ends Day for the Texans, led the way for them in receiving, 3 receptions, 68 yards on 4 targets. Defensively, I'm going to have to go with Vegas safety Deron Harmon, the longtime Patriot, 6 tackles, 5 of them solos, 1 pass deflection, and 73-yard pick 6. Raiders covered -7 over 46 easily. Seahawks beating up on the Chargers in LA 37-23. Justin Herbert struggled, 33 of 51, 64.7%, 293 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries for 22 yards, and a fumble. Geno Smith, not his most output, but still a pretty good game. 20 carries, 20 of 27, 74.1%, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Kenneth Walker, another rookie who is just outstanding right now. The running back for the Seahawks, 23 carries, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Austin Eckler, what a day receiving. 12 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Caught all 12 of his targets to add on to his paltry rushing day. 9 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams, your leading receiver in the game for LA, 7 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. How about the day for Seahawks wide receiver Marquise Goodwin out of nowhere? 4 receptions, 67 yards, led the Seahawks in receiving, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. Defensively, I am going to go with Seahawks safety Ryan Neal on the day. 7 tackles, 6 of them solos, 4 pass deflections, and a pick. Great day for Mr. Neal. Seahawks +5 over 51. Chiefs crushing the Niners in San Fran 44-23, spoiling Christian McCaffrey's debut with the Niners. Patrick Mahomes 25 of 34, 73.5%, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Jimmy Garoppolo 25 of 37, 67.6%, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Brock Purdy came in late. Did some nice things, 4 of 9, 44.4%, 66 yards, but he did throw a pick to end the game. Jeff Wilson led the game in rushing. The Niners running back, 7 carries for 54 yards. And then a couple 100-yard receivers in on the day. Chiefs wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, 7 receptions, 124 yards, a touchdown on 8 targets. And Chiefs wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 3 receptions, 111 yards on 4 targets there. Who else would lead the Niners in receiving on National Tight Ends Day? Who else other than tight end George Kittle? 6 receptions, 98 yards, a touchdown on 9 targets. Travis Kelce, not the best day for him. But Brandon Ayuk also caught double-digit targets, the only receiver, I believe, double-digit targets in the game for San Francisco. 7 receptions, 82 yards on those 11 targets there. Also, masterful performance by Chiefs wide receiver Mecole Hardman. 4 receptions, 32 yards, a touchdown on 4 targets there. And then 2 carries, 28 yards scored on both of them. 3 total scores for Mecole on the day. Defensively, I'm going to go with Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark. 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits, and a sack of Jimmy Garoppolo for a safety. Chiefs covered easily, -1, over 49. Easily. Sunday Night Football, Dolphins getting it done 16-10 over the Steelers. Yeah, man, I thought Pittsburgh was going to make it. I thought Kenny was going to put his stamp on the NFL. Come back, beat Miami in Miami. Just could not get it done. Had two chances to do it. Probably should have ran on the last play of offense for the Steelers instead of throwing the ball. But that's where you got to learn as a rookie and take your lumps. So Tua Tagovailoa, his return looked like they were going to just absolutely obliterate the Steelers early on. They were moving right down the field on their first drive. Second drive, they moved down the field. The Steelers got to stop and held them to 3 field goals the rest of the way. No scoring in the second half. 16-10 was your halftime score. Tua, though, 21 of 35, 60%, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 carries for 15 yards. Kenny Pickett for the Steelers, 32 of 44, 72.7%, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 3 carries for 20 yards. Raheem Mostert led the way rushing. The Dolphins running back had 16 carries, 79 yards, 4 catches for 30 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. Leading receiver in the game, Dolphins wide receiver Jalen Waddle, 4 receptions, 88 yards on 5 targets. Of course, the end to National Tight Ends Day for Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth. Great game, 8 receptions, 75 yards on 9 targets. Then 2 other guys had double-digit targets on the day. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, 7 receptions, 72 yards on 13 targets. And Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, 5 receptions for 42 yards on 10 targets. Defensively, have to go with Dolphins linebacker Jalen Phillips, 8 tackles, 4 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. Steelers covered +7, under 44.5, easily. NFL news, some general stuff here. The Panthers made the news, obviously, with the Robbie Anderson and then the Christian McCaffrey trade. But the trade that they didn't take made some news this week. They rejected an offer for 2 first-round picks from a team for defensive end Brian Burns. They see him as a core piece of their defense, and they are not going to trade him. Others that are receiving offers as we near the trade deadline, Broncos, multiple offers for linebacker Bradley Chubb and wide receivers Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. So we'll see the Broncos sell any pieces at the deadline there. And then a couple other wide receivers teams are calling about: Texans wide receiver Brandon Cooks and Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool. Brandon Cooks could tie for the most traded player ever if he gets traded once again. Traded already 3 times in his career. Texans, his 4th stop going from the Patriots to the Saints, Saints to the Patriots to the Rams to the Texans, or something like that. The Patriots, they are expected to have Mac Jones back at QB tonight. I'm expected to start, officially listed as a game time decision, I believe. But I think that he will play, and he will play well. The Colts shook up the news cycle today. They have made a QB change. Matt Ryan dealing with a grade 2 shoulder separation. But Frank Reich said it would have been done regardless of his injury. Sam Ehlinger is your new starter for the Indianapolis Colts the rest of the season. We'll have to see how the 6th-round pick does. Stellar career at Texas, but has not had a lot of opportunities yet in the league. He will get that opportunity starting against the Commanders this weekend. PUP activations, I mentioned Ravens running back Gus Edwards. Great game for him, activated off PUP before Sunday's game yesterday. A couple IR activations. The Packers activated wide receiver Sammy Watkins. He played well in his first game back against the Commanders. Not well enough for the Packers to win, unfortunately for them. And the Rams are getting some reinforcements. They are activating the practice windows for defensive back Troy Hill, linebacker Traven Howard, and I think most notably wide receiver Van Jefferson, going to help that offense open up Cooper Kupp a little bit more, as well as Tyler Higbee and co. A lot of guys being placed on IR. Texans defensive end Jonathan Greenard, he is out 4 to 6 weeks with a calf injury. Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz put on IR with his broken right ring finger, had surgery on that. Unfortunately, he's going to miss the revenge games at Indianapolis and at Philadelphia. Also getting placed on IR, Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb, Chargers running back Joshua Kelly, Lions wide receiver DJ Chark, Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, and the Giants linebacker Azeez Ojulari. Injuries from the weekend here. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson, he has a partially torn hamstring, uncertain to play in London this week, but he hopes he will be able to. Panthers, they could get back both quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Both have a chance to play this week. However, today, interim head coach Steve Wilkes announced PJ Walker will remain the starter, even if the other two are healthy. Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is in concussion protocol, left the game yesterday for that. Jets got some bad news today. Two of their young studs, rookie running back Breece Hall, he is out for the season, torn ACL. And then second-year offensive lineman Elijah Vera Tucker, he is out for the season with a torn triceps. Browns tight end David Njoku, he has a high ankle sprain. He is out 2 to 5 weeks. Bad news for the Chargers. Corner J.C. Jackson carted off in an air cast yesterday, dislocated kneecap. They ended up seeing that he actually ruptured his patellar tendon while with the dislocation, so he is out for the season. Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard, he has a minor ankle sprain, said he could have went back in the game if he would have had to yesterday, so that shouldn't be an issue going forward. Cowboys cornerback Jordan Lewis, he, however, is out for the season. He has a foot injury. He's going to have surgery on that. Browns corner Denzel Ward, he remains in the concussion protocol after this weekend. Did not play with being in that protocol. We'll see if he can clear it and play this weekend against Cincinnati. The Giants got some bad news today. Rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger, he is out indefinitely. He's going to have surgery on his a broken eye socket. Really crazy, weird injury for him, but unsure whether he'll be back to play this season or not. So yeah, terrible news for that. And again, just a weird injury. And then Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf, he is week to week. He has a patellar tendon injury. We'll have to see how many weeks DK is out, though. Again, look for Marquise Goodwin to have an increased role alongside Tyler Lockett. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams, he's a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss some time. Luckily for them, they got Keenan Allen back this week, but they just cannot get both of them on the field together since week 1. So see how long Williams is out there. And then a couple other injuries here. Browns linebacker Jacob Phillips, he is done for the year, likely done for the year. He has a torn pec. And then Giants offensive tackle Evan Neal, they got some goodish news. Out 3 to 4 weeks. He has an MCL sprain. Couple transactions. The Lions are now the home to the highest paid punter in the NFL. They signed punter Jack Fox to a 3-year extension worth $3.775 million per year. He also gets $7.5 million guaranteed. So great deal for Mr. Fox, one of the better punters in the league. And yeah, punters are people too, as Rich Eisen would say. And one other transaction here, the Broncos getting more running back help. They signed Marlon Mack off of the 49ers practice squad. Pick standings here. Yes, I'm still at the top, still one game ahead of Mark. 2-0 for Mark, Logan, and I, last week. Peter is falling behind a little bit. He lone wolfed the Saints on Thursday. Did not get it done there. But we all got the Commanders, or got the Chargers right on Monday. So I am still one ahead of Mark, 2 ahead of Logan, and now 4 ahead of Peter. So this week, tonight, we have the Bears at the Patriots. We are all lockstep on the red, white, and blue. Patriots 8-point favorites at home. Mac Jones returning. Justin Fields sucks. Bears in prime time. Patriots defense. Patriots win. They cover. Maybe not cover. I don't know about that. But yeah, Patriots are going to win this game. Everyone's on the Patriots, so I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears win somehow. But if they do, the calls for Zappy will be abound in Foxborough and the New England area. Over under is 40 here. I am going to go under that. And 8:15 p.m., a little over 2 hours away on ESPN. A little under 2 hours, I should say. Thursday Night Football, what a matchup. And I was shocked no one is taking the Bucs. The Ravens in Tampa Bay, 1.5-point favorites for the purple and gold. But we're all on Baltimore. I think that means right here we're going to have to post this to social media once the Bucs win and say we should have known it was going to happen. Peter's been saving us these Thursday night games the last 2 weeks, and he's not going to save us this week. We're all going to go down with the ship, pun intended, with the Bucs having a pirate ship in their stadium. And I kind of hope the Bucs win because the Steelers need all the help they can get with other teams beating their divisional opponents. But we're all on Baltimore in this game. Over under is 45. I have to believe the way that the Bucs offense has been playing, it's going to go under, especially, and the Bucs defense has been playing as well. I'm going to go under that, under 45 there. That's 8:15 p.m. on Prime Video. Next week, we'll be back talking the Monday night game between the Bengals and Browns in Cleveland, and looking at the Thursday night game as well, the Eagles in Houston to play the Texans. Hopefully, they are still undefeated at that point. We'll also have all the NFL news to get you caught up on from the weekend. And the college football and NFL recaps as well. As always, don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. At FAA_bets is our betting account. And then FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank you all, and we'll